You are listening to Pelushi Performance Podcast, and here is your host, Ray Pelushi.
Hello everybody and welcome to the new episode. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me here today. I'm Ray and I'm your host, and let's go straight to today's topic. Today's topic is a very interesting one. It's a topic that I would have loved to have more people in here with me, or something that I could have connect with people back and forth live, because I definitely would love to hear your guys' opinion. More than me explaining how this topic is like, I'll share a story, I'll share my thoughts, and then we'll just go from there. Today's topic is about gut feeling. What is a gut feeling? Or how can we use our gut feeling in our daily goals and in our daily lives? I've heard many videos, and I've definitely heard a podcast speaking about that many years ago, I would say, about this. But this is something that has fascinated me since I was very, very young. It is something that I can definitely not explain. I don't even know if there is science behind it, because I feel like it's more like something that is invisible, something that you cannot touch, you cannot feel, but it just is there and it happens. And what do I mean by that? Well, how many of you guys have had that feeling before that you should not do that, and then, for example, you go do it, and then the results happen exactly as you thought it would happen? And later on, you start analyzing and you're like, well, but I told you you should not do it. In this time, you're kind of speaking to yourself. And yes, can you speak to yourself? I believe so. All the tennis players seems like they speak to themselves, or that's what my friends used to tell me when they would come and watch my games. They're like, are you speaking to yourself? I'm like, yeah, I'm speaking to myself. But the truth is that, yes, another person lives inside of us. Well, at least it feels like it. Is it our subconscious? It could be. But we're always having these deep conversations within ourselves. Or it feels like we're having a conversation with another person inside of us, as that person is more in command of who we are or what we do. Again, what do I even mean by that? Well, how many times you guys would wake up in the morning and let's say you're trying to get ready for work and you don't know what to wear, but in the same time, you're asking those questions to this person inside of you like, what do I think? What should I wear today? Should I wear this? No, yeah, you're right. I should not wear this. I probably should wear that. And it's just a little example, but throughout the day, we're constantly having those conversations within ourselves, more to like seek answers and find the approval of the things that we need. And that's why I also believe that it kind of relates a little to this gut feeling, because those gut feelings seems like it's more another person inside of us trying to warn us or try to push us towards something. But let me share you a story. When I was a head coach, I had one girl that something happened to her. She went through an injury, like a surgery. She ended up not playing for 1 year. I mean, she only played one semester, and that 1 year she didn't play. And then she ended up not coming back and stayed home because her freshman year was ruined, and she kind of felt that her life was more back home than where she was coming. I mean, I totally understand her. Amazing girl, lovely girl, great student, great player. Just things happen for a reason. I always believe that. And her reason was for not to play her first year, and in the end deciding that she didn't want to come to the state anymore, want to stay back home, which is totally fine, and I hope she's doing great. But 1 week before school was about to start and season was about to start, she posted an amazing picture on her social media where she was in top of the mountain and she was skiing. And in that moment, I had like a feeling like, oh my God, I hope something don't happen to her. Like, I hope nothing bad happened to her. And throughout that time, December, January, and this is like almost like more than a year ago, it's like 2 years ago. And I see all these pictures from all my players, and they were skiing and they were doing stuff, but I didn't have like that reaction inside of me, other than when I saw the picture of that young lady posting it. I was like, oh my God, I hope something bad don't happen to her. And guess what? She was skiing and she hurt herself very bad. She needed to go through a surgery. And in the end, she ended up coming back to school. I mean, she was on crutches. She just felt like she didn't want to leave the school, which was great because she was part of all the activities and she definitely learned a lot. But again, her first year wasn't the same because she wasn't playing. She was sitting outside. When I picked her up from the airport and I drove her back to school, we had some conversations and she's like, yes, coach, you're right. We go to this mountain every year and I've been before, even this year, and we do the same routes over and over and over. And she was like, in that moment on the last trial, right before we were leaving, I had this bad feeling inside of me like, hey, don't do this. But I still went and did it. And I felt, and she hurt her knee very, very bad and she was in such a big pain. And she's like, you're totally right. I felt like I had this gut feeling telling me to not do it. And I still did it. And I was like, wow. Like, that's crazy because I had exactly the same thing when I saw your picture. And again, I don't know how to explain this, but it's just fascinating when you hear stories after stories having kind of like the same results, or people telling me, or probably you, like I've definitely had some other stories where friends of mine have been like, oh my God, I knew that I should have done that and I didn't, and this happened. And I believe you all have this because I've talked about this gut feeling before with my friends, and we all had the same reaction and almost like the same story, just different people, different names, and different details. But it's just crazy how this happened. Now, is it our subconscious? Is it the unconscious? I don't know. But again, I've watched an episode from Dr. Andrew Haberman in his podcast where he invited I forgot his name. His name is Dr. Cole Ponte. Yes, Cole Ponte. And he's a psychologist, I believe, as far as what I got from this episode, because there were like 3 different episodes and they were very long. But Dr. Andrew Haberman explained to him and introduced him as like one of the best ones out there for psychology and our brain and our mind and subconscious. And I listened to these episodes and I was just very fascinated when he was talking like how 90% of our time we are running from our subconscious. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And we can affect our subconscious by the things that we watch, by the things that we read, by the things that we write, we listen. And those kind of like affects our life, because if you're shaping this part of you, your subconscious, which is, directing you to act in different ways or take different steps, then we can have a tremendously positive life by, even if we're not, let's say, like in control, because our brain, let's say, is in control of us, but we can affect our brain before by doing other things that eventually will help us dictate on the path that we need to take, if that makes sense to you. I know it's a bit complicated, and this is not just an easy topic, this is a complicated topic. And again, I'm not a professional here, I'm just sharing a story, and I just feel like I needed to post it out there, and if I can have responses back, I would love it. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of going back and forth from one topic to another, but I'm just throwing ideas and kind of connecting pieces. Do we have this gut feeling? Yes, we do have a big gut feeling. And we all do. Is it right or is it wrong? I don't know. But it seems like it always knows the answer. Is our subconscious in control of us? Well, Dr. Paul Candy says that it is. Well, how can we affect our subconscious? Well, we can affect subconscious in everything that we do. We have approximately 60,000 thoughts a day. And those thoughts are always affected by the things that we watch, read, listen, actions, experiences, etc., etc., etc. For example, when you try to meditate, obviously, there's different kind of meditations, but if you're not in control of your meditations, let's say that if you're not focusing on your breath, on counting the inhales and exhales, your mind would wander and would go in many, many ways, in many directions. Like things will pop up in your mind. Sometimes like childhood stuff will pop up in your mind. A beautiful meditation that Robert Greene does is that every morning, except for 45 minutes, I meditate. I just lay in the bed and don't try to control everything, but I just let my mind wander into places and see if I can find answers or kind of explore later on why I was feeling that. And I've tried it and I still do it. I don't do it daily, this kind of meditation, but I do it. But every time I let my mind go into places, it just goes from one place to another. Sometimes it's crazy, like how things will show up that you never thought about, or things that you thought that you forget, but somehow this experience when you're like 8 years old or 10 years old pop up. And why right now? So yes, it is a complicated topic. Should we work more, on our brain? I've mentioned this many times and I'll still do it again. Yes, meditate, visualize, journal. Try to see like, why are you feeling this way? Why are you thinking this way? Recognize patterns. Touch on the places that you don't want to touch. Our brain is like a credit card. It just builds up and you have to pay it back one day. If you let the credit card build up, most likely you'll pay with interest. So you need to make sure that you check your brain and pay those little payments that you have to do by checking daily and paying those prices. And yeah, does that affect our gut feeling? Well, probably it will, it won't. I'm not sure, but I definitely believe that we have to work on our brain, because when we work in our brain and ourselves, yes, it will affect our subconscious. I believe that. Speaking about brain and speaking about oneself and mind, it's still like we don't know a lot about it. We're constantly improving and learning new things. That's why we still live in a very interesting world. But with what we know, why don't we use it? And sure, I believe that we have this gut feeling and we should always trust our guts. Can we positively affect it? Yes, by trying to affect our subconscious. How can we affect those subconscious? Well, we can affect daily, from the moment we open our eyes until the moment that we close it, by thinking about good stuff or by reading and writing and listening and kind of just staying on top of it at the best we can. I hope you guys liked this episode. I know it's tricky and can be complicated, and I wandered around, but I would love to have your guys' feedback and comments, and I hope you guys maybe, found an answer or be like, oh yes, that's true, like that happened to me, or something like that. Until the next one, you guys stay blessed.